We want to welcome you to this important conversation here on Yom Kippur afternoon. My name is Rabbi Ryan Daniels. I am thrilled for the honor to speak with Mayor Sam Cunningham, the city of Waukegan, our neighbors just to the north, as I sit here in Perlman Sanctuary at North Shore Congregation Israel in Glencoe. This program is called, Is This the Fast I Desire? It's a nod to the prophet Isaiah, the prophetic reading, one of them that we speak on this holy day. The prophet looks out at the people and says, is this the fast that God desires? No, is the answer. It's our responsibility as Jews not just to sit in front of our screens this year, not just to sit in our sanctuaries every other year and pray the words of our machzor, pray the words of our tradition. But what's important, says Isaiah, is for us to get outside, for us to go out into the world, for us to share stories with one another, for us to build bridges with our neighbors, for us to show love for our neighbor as our tradition requires. So we have this event, this program. Mayor Cunningham, thank you. Thank you for, I see that you're in your office in Waukegan. I want to thank you for allowing us to, have a little bit of your time. I know you're super busy these days.
Well, first of all, thank you, Rabbi, for asking me to join you on your podcast. And I am very honored, and hopefully we'll have some very open and honest conversation about today's world events, but more importantly, how we can continue to work together to make the place we call home a much better place for all of us to enjoy.
Fabulous. That is certainly our mission as well. I want to just start knowing more about you, right? Who are you? Who is Mayor Cunningham? How did you get to where you are today?
Wow. Well, I tell you, that story really starts with my family tree. My mom and dad they migrated from the south to the north from Alabama. Obviously, to start their family. Unfortunately, the untimely death of my dad when I was 1 year of age left my mom as a single parent. Being a single parent, certainly back in the 60s, was not difficult. Well, I mean, it was not easy. However, because of her resiliency with her providing for her family, we were able to, live not like probably we want to live, but we never wanted anything. There was love in our home. There was a roof over our head. There were certainly expectations put upon me and my siblings. But more importantly, we understood the value of family and faith, which helped us persevere through many difficult times, certainly in our lives. For me personally, I probably received that what we call the bug, the public service bug, not the politician, but the public service bug early on in life. And I say that because being a single parent, especially with young men, my mom didn't always identify with her boys. There were men in our community who became surrogate fathers to me. And they did not have to do that by no means. And they had their own sons, their own families, their own, problems to deal with. And ironically for me, I was introduced with that diverse group of ethnic groups early on. There was a Greek man by the name of Peter Sintirides, a Jewish man by the name of Mr. Gordon, African-American men of Henry Walls, Johnny Simmons, Bob Evans, and Lucius Copeland. And they all played different roles as I matured into a man. But the mere fact that those men stepped in to give me guidance as a young man then, then transitioned into a young adult, then to a father, and now to a public servant. Um, and if I can go back to that process of me becoming the person I am today, uh, education was a huge part of our upbringing in our home. My mother believed in that the teacher was always right. Um, and for me, I struggled in my elementary, middle school, and high school years. And the struggling part came in my comprehension, my reading and comprehension level was never that of my peers. So it always needed support and help. That presented some social issues for me. I didn't think I was smart enough. Sometimes I didn't have the confidence that my other students had because I just didn't believe that I should be here. And I thought I had a problem. But because of those frontline educators who never gave up on me, who always pushed me, who always nurtured and helped me through those trying times, uh, it gave me early on that if you apply yourself and if you work hard, things will happen. So I did that. After graduating from high school, went on to historically Black University College, uh, located in Wilberforce, Ohio, called Central State University. Graduated from there in '89, came back to Waukegan. I was then appointed to the Waukegan Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. Ironically, it's the same housing authority which I grew up under. Uh, I then learned that if I wanted to make change, then the change comes within. And upon your own experiences, what you thought that should have been changed then you have the opportunity to do it now. From there, in 1999, Mr. Lucius Copeland, who was then the alderman, said, "Hey, I'm not running any longer. You're the perfect person. You grew up in the neighborhood. You came back to the neighborhood. Now you need to become part of the leader to be that inspiration to others." Uh, Ran in '99, fortunate enough to win by the citizens of the first ward, and that public service career started for me. Fast forwarding, understood that if the change that I needed to make has to be changed for Waukegan, not just for the first ward, I set out to run for the mayor, not one time, not two, not three, but 4 times. Obviously losing all 3, ultimately winning on that 4th time, and here I am today.
It's an incredible story.
Yeah. So, and I am just living out the dream of my dream of being the leader of this community.
I love. We've had the opportunity to speak earlier this summer, and what spoke to me and what I've held on to since that conversation was really your stories about mom, and your
Yeah,
stories about those men in your life that helped you on your path, right, through some really difficult times, through struggles. We know that our children, when they can identify adults in their life that love them, care for them, and tell them that what they do matters, they become stronger, better adults. And you are a demonstration of that.
yeah. I believe in various communities, you have those mothers, those surrogate fathers, surrogate mothers. And while in some of us grow up in traditional homes, others don't. There are people that come into our lives, and this is my faith talking, that God puts into our lives that help us get to the next level. And it just continues to happen. Some corporate America call them life coaches. I call them, those are the backbones of our communities. And how do we get them to emerge all the time? But more importantly, how do we get our young men and young ladies to identify them, gravitate to them, and then move on with their lives? at the same time, understanding what they're going through is just for right now. But it boils down to hard work at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. We're told over and over in our tradition, in a faith tradition that we share, that each of us has a spark of the divine within us, right?
Yeah.
Each of us has the possibility, endless possibility, and there is a world out there for us to take and to give, right? And for leaders in our communities, it's the challenge of how do we help to inspire and encourage each of our young people to see that spark in themselves, and then to go out there like you did to make that world a better place.
Yeah. And I tell you, as I have matured into this position, we live in an amazing place in America, state of Illinois, in the county of Lake, and certainly in Waukegan. I think we concentrate so much on the negative aspects of what's going on that we don't appreciate the positives.
I want to ask you more about that. I want to ask you about Waukegan. I'm curious, and I want to pack two questions into one here.
Sure.
I'm wondering, as mayor, a child of Waukegan, developed, went to school, came back to Waukegan, now sits in the seat of the mayor of this place, right? You are the leader of your hometown now. I'm wondering what you know about how Waukegan is perceived by both the people of Waukegan and people outside. And I'm wondering, as mayor and as someone who loves Waukegan with all of their heart and all of their might and all of your efforts, what do you want other people to know about Waukegan?
Well, I think sometimes, always go back to my childhood place, living in public housing. No one wants to live in public housing, but it exists. And I was told one time by one of our staff members, said, Mayor, there's a problem that exists in our community that we want to run away from. But don't run away from it, accept it of what it is. Meaning that I lived in public housing, others lived in public housing. It might not be the traditional place for us to be, but let's make it the best of what it is today. And that is something I really have begun to understand now being of Waukegan and what others think of Waukegan. And what do I mean by that? We're Waukegan. We're not Libertyville. We're not Gurnee, Winnetka, Deerfield, Bannockburn. We're Waukegan. We are a labor town, essential workers. However, we want a quality education for our children. We want nice, safe neighborhoods for our community. We want a good library. We want good services coming from from a city government. And that's really what everybody wants. And once I really understood that and accepted that, now I'm managing to that. So what I want people to really know about Waukegan, are we different than other communities? We could be, to a point where everybody lives here don't make over $100,000. We are the soup of America. We have those who low income earners, high income earners. We call them middle class earners. They exist in Waukegan. If I ask anyone to do anything, accept us Waukeganites for who we are. But understand, there's a common denominator of your community and mine. That is safe neighborhoods, good quality education, a career that I can be proud of, whether it be a garbage, the garbage man, the dishwasher, the retail store clerk. Be proud of that and be the best at it. And Last but not least, love the city in which you're in. We're not perfect. And honestly, I'm not trying to be. But I do believe if you identify an issue that exists in our community, one, you got to let me know. And if there's a strategy, a process in which for us to resolve the issue, then we will. And, I think one of the greatest things that Waukegan has is the diversity of our community. Because what you get in Waukegan is what you're going to get in life. And if you're able to achieve those certain criteria to make you successful in Waukegan, you can do it anywhere in America.
Inspiring. Thank you. Thank you for that. We hope at NSCI to continue to build that bridge to Waukegan. Each year we come together in partnership with the staff at Whittier School, where our community loves to this Thanksgiving baskets program, right? That we come with Thanksgiving meals, and we get a chance to interact, partner, communicate, know one another. I think that's such an important effort. It's one of the highlights of our year for sure. And I'm grateful for the relationship with Whittier School. I'm wondering along those lines, where is there room for greater bridging, for even more partnership, for even more friendship for our community and for yours?
Well, I think one of the things I've been really, really harping on and within my tenure as the mayor of Waukegan. And I heard this at a sermon that was being given by one of our local pastors. And the sermon was stay in your lane. So there was just many leaders there, political leaders. And we all looked around, okay, where's he going with this? And I'm going to try to paraphrase some of the things he said. He said, mayors want to be governors, governors want to be presidents. And we were like, okay, but you're not doing your job right because you're looking to do the president's job or the governor's job. And it was a very humbling, but reality check as to, wow. He said, aldermen want to be mayors, state senators, state representatives want to be governors, congressmen and senators want to be the president. Well, if you're striving to be them, what are you doing in the role you're in? Stay in your lane. So I took that concept and said, what do we do best? What lane should we be in? The lane we're in is police, fire, public works, water, city services. That's what we're good at. And our hands down, I believe we do that better than any community throughout this country. What are the things we're not good at that we think we are? That's where the partnership comes in. I'm a fan of partnerships. Corporations probably do this better than anybody. They know when to partner with another company in order to get the product to the end user, which is the customer. The customer for me are the residents, business community, and other business partners. Those are our customers. And they tend to be mutual. So if I can't do something that customer needs, I need to be able to partner with that. I'll give you an example, you just said it. Schools are not in the business of providing Thanksgiving dinners. That's not what they do. They educate our children. You, in your church, you do it well. You have the relationships. So why should I reinvent the wheel in city government or in school, in a school government, when I can just partner with someone who is proven to be successful at it? So the resources I was then going to utilize to try to do it, why don't I give those resources to you, bring you in, stand behind you and let you do what you do best. And I call it get out of the way, remove the barriers, so then you can do what? Provide the service to that end user, which is the same customer.
Mm. I've heard you talk a lot about public service, and I would even spin it as social responsibility, right? And the help that we can provide, whatever it is each of us can do to help one another, right? That is our obligation. And I'm wondering if you could dive in a little bit deeper. What does service mean to you, right? And why is that the message that you have led with throughout your leadership career?
Because service is what is expected in the role that we're in. Police, fire, public works, the water service. We have a water plant where we deliver service to water supply, which is I call a service to those customers. And I like to keep it on the customer. The customers are the residents who own homes. A service is nothing more than something that you have paid for. And once you pay for that service, you expect for that person to deliver. The payment of service for city government is through taxes. So when you pay your taxes, you essentially said, I paid for the police protection. I paid for the fire protection. I paid for the public works. I paid for the water supply that comes to my home in other city services. So that has already been, they have already paid their premium. Now they want that premium to be delivered. I just believe that we are the best in delivering that service. So when a call comes into our 911 center for police, fire, or to our public works department, I have some branches on the curb. They are expecting for those branches to be picked up. Now, if they're not picked up, then we're not doing what? We're not providing the service they have then paid for. My background comes from a service provider, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Allstate Insurance Company, owning my own business. They were paying a premium for a service that needed to be what? Delivered. And how does that manifest into a city? People live in a city who delivers the best service, whether it be from a school district standpoint, from a public works, from police, from a fire, and whoever does it the best, that's where residents are gonna go. Mm-hmm. Whether they're black, white, male or female, rich or poor. And that's why I believe we have to put it in the context of service. I believe that Waukegan can deliver those services better than any community out there. Now, other communities may beg to differ, which they should. So that's why I think it's so important that we keep it on the mindset of we are a service organization. And if we train our staff, if we train our police, fire, public works to understand that we deliver service, everybody wants to deliver the best service.
And you're connecting, rooting back to those values that you were taught as a young child, right? Connecting to why do we deliver these services? Well, because each person is a holy soul, right? And each person is deserving of that education, of the safety, of the community that I know inspired you to be where you are.
And I think the driver for me, as it relates to that, goes back to my childhood. Those surrogate men would give me a service that I didn't understand until now. Now I'm in a position to return that, pay it forward. And I think I am the best example of why, or if we deliver that service correctly, we will be then developing more Sam Cunninghams in this world, at least in Waukegan. And if they turn out the way I did, we've done our job.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I want to ask you another question.
Sure.
You are, of course, from all of your experience that you've spoken about already, business and all of this, you are also a pioneer in that you are Waukegan's first African American mayor. I'm wondering, what does that mean for you? And what responsibility, obligation, joys, what's wrapped up in that pioneer role?
And I've thought about that several times. And I think it goes back for me is the values that were instilled in me early on. I've been able to develop those values, strengthen those values, but more important is have them reinforced. From an African American perspective, I need to know that it's going to be different. And I've accepted that role. I understand that role now. And now I'm managing to it. What do I mean by different? I said to myself when I first got here, Sam, you might not be able to do what other leaders were able to do in the past. Meaning, if I bring something up, that I must have all the details in order to support why we're moving in that direction. Some say, well, others didn't have to do that. I can't think like others. I have to think like Sam. That's where I'm at today. Manage to what you have and then move on. So the responsibility as the first African American is just making sure that the standard that I set as a leader first and as an African American, that others can follow who might not be Black, who might not be male, but they're doing it because this is the best process or the best way to lead Waukegan. And as long as I have those expectations, or I set the narrative, then when other African American men or women come to want to run for this role, the bar has been set not just for Blacks, but for everyone to lead Waukegan. And ultimately, Waukegan is the reason why you want to be here. Not because you're Black, not because you're a male, not because of your faith, because you want to lead Waukegan to greatness. And that is where I stand. And being the first African American male, I accept that challenge, but I lead of being the best leader for this community.
Your passion for the work that you do is so evident. It just in the way that you share these answers. I so appreciate your honesty, your openness with us as we continue to talk. I want to ask you a question. I would have much preferred for us to be in person, for us to have welcomed you here on Yom Kippur in this sanctuary with a room full of 100 people sitting so we can have a community dialogue. Of course, that's not possible given this current pandemic. I'm wondering, how has this pandemic, how has COVID-19 specifically impacted you? How has it impacted the city of Waukegan? What are the new challenges that have emerged for you as you continue to lead?
Well, certainly, I would love to have come to your home and to be there. And you talk, let's go back to bridging that gap. Here is a man from Waukegan who's African American, who's coming to Evanston to be in your, and I don't know if this is the correct, sanctuary. That's bridging of the gap.
Hmm.
Who would ever thought 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that would happen? That is the bridging of the gap.
Hmm.
And you and I talking about common things that make both our worlds, while they may be different, yet they're the same.
Mhm.
That right there alone has this pandemic has certainly caused that not to happen. But because of resiliency that we all have as humans, but more importantly, when we really want to do things and get things done, we find a way to get it done. Spiritually driven, of course. It has affected this community in so many different ways. And now to manage and lead through that is one, Waukegan, Illinois, its population is made up of a lot of essential workers. In other communities, particularly in Lake County, a lot of those workers do not have to go into the job because they can do their job from home. Those Waukeganites, vast majority of them, they got to go to the bakery. They got to go to the factory. They got to go to the retail stores. They got to get on the truck to deliver. I said something early about appreciating. Some of them probably didn't appreciate their positions. But today, they're finding that because of what they're doing, that people are appreciating them. Example, when the pandemic first started, I would go around to the grocery stores, to the restaurants, to the factories, to the truck drivers, and I would take pictures with them and put them on my Facebook saying, thank you, essential worker. You're the reasons why we're having Zoom calls. Groceries are being delivered. Clothes are being washed. Groceries are on the shelves. So the learning of that is those Waukeganites who probably didn't appreciate their position, appreciate their positions now. And they're willing to do their positions bigger, better, brighter today because others are counting on them. I'm leading that charge by making sure City Hall is open so they can pay their water bills, talk to their aldermen. Police and fire, God, for essential workers. They still are on the call when the call came in. We just got to do it different. And that is the challenge for us, finding ways to still deliver the service that is needed, just doing it a different way. But understanding that this too shall pass. But until that time, this is where we're at. Accept it, manage through it, and still be able to deliver what is necessary for our communities to thrive.
Thank you. Thank you. I have one more question for you.
Sure.
I know you were so kind to share about your upbringing, about your development as a leader. I'm wondering about now, where you sit today. Where do you find the inspiration to continue? Where do you find the strength to continue doing the work that you're engaged in these days?
You know, in my office, I keep pictures, some pictures as a motivator. And you probably can take a look to the far as my mom and my siblings, my girlfriend, Denise, and my two daughters, Sierra and Samantha. You know, growing up without a father, I really didn't know when my daughters were born what kind of dad I was going to be. And it was one of those kind of surreal moments that you're thrust into, and you look back on those who helped you and molded you, from your mom to surrogate fathers, surrogate mothers, your friends, and you just thrust into. So my motivation today comes from looking at those pictures every morning and saying they're expecting me to do the best that I can for this community. So when I hand it over to the next person, that I've given them a blueprint of what Waukegan is all about and they can take it to the next level. But I'm simply more motivated by, I'm more motivated by what others gave me. It is my responsibility to give back. Mm. And that be to Sierra and Samantha, making sure when they look at their father and they walk through the streets of Waukegan, they're going to say, wow, my dad really made an impact on people's lives. Not looking for credit, not trying to have my name on the wall, just giving what was given to me and loving the role that I'm in as mayor. And I tell you, I don't like this. I love this role. I love someone to say, Mayor Sam Cunningham. Because that then tells me that I have a job to do. I must do it without passion or prejudice. I must do it for the betterment of our community. And that's why we're excited about some of these ventures that we on, from College of Lake County starting its project in downtown Waukegan. Our public housing units has started their $50 million projects to upgrade public housing for those in need. Certainly for our entertainment casino, our entertainment center, which includes a casino in our farthern part of western Waukegan, looking at what our lakefront can provide in the near future, recreation, entertainment. We have some outstanding assets that we have not captured on in the past, but we've laid the groundwork. Now, me as mayor, my job is to get those things teed up so then we can make Waukegan that town that everyone can enjoy and be proud of, as I was as a kid.
Your service is admirable. The concept in Judaism, the Hebrew is lador vador, from generation to generation. We see ourselves not as the end of the story, but just one link in this chain linking the past to the future. And the work that we do is very much for us today, and also to build for our children, our grandchildren, for the generations that will come, God willing, for years and years to come. That resonates with me too. I appreciate that response.
Thank you. And this is, as you do, you gotta love this, because not everybody will appreciate you now. And I understand when it comes with the job, but when you love, and I tell my daughter this, when you love what you do, you can overcome those distractions, but stay focused. And I think if I'm able to do that, I'll be okay. And I will say to you this, when I stop loving being the mayor, I will leave. Because you have to love this to have this passion. That's the only way I think you can do the job, in my opinion.
Mayor Sam Cunningham, thank you. Thank you for giving us your time, your wisdom, sharing so openly and freely with all of us here on this Yom Kippur afternoon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I look forward to an opportunity to shake your hand and for our community and yours to continue building our bridges and continue nourishing this friendship that we create.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And on behalf of the mayor's office, our city clerk, Janet Kilkelly, and our city treasurer, Mr. John Schwab, the aldermen, and the great citizens of Waukegan, we look forward to continuing this partnership with you and your parishioners, so we all can then show what great partnerships can bring and what it can do to help people move further in their lives. All right? You take care. Certainly try to stay healthy, Stay home when necessary. God bless you. And we say Waukegan Strong out.
Thank you, Mayor.
Bye-bye.